We turn on the TV or look at our phone and we're bombarded by propaganda, being told what to think by paid actors, or experiencing censorship of real people. When you talk politics with your friends or family, you have to guard what you say out of fear of being shunned or canceled or losing a friend. So how can you hear about what normal, average, non-paid people are thinking about American politics today?
You can't, because it's illegal.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Evan.
And we are here for another week of bringing you the perspective of the average American voter.
Yeah, which is kind of becoming just like the average American idiot at this point. For me, at least. I'll speak for myself.
Yeah, pardon you.
Some new topics today. What do we have? The gas shortage, which is a fun.
The north, or not north, the east, southern, southeastern.
I think so, yeah. Maybe Texas and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That. Israel.
What's
going on in there? And then, lastly, the CDC mask mandate, lifting restrictions on that. So.
Yes, but first, before we get into the topics, we're going to start with our drinks.
Always forget.
So, this week we have the COVID Crusher.
Because we beat COVID. The mask mandates being lifted.
Daddy Fauci said so. So, what's in the COVID Crusher is super orange flavored emergency.
Which is disgusting.
Vodka. And then you can garnish it with some sugar and an orange, which I didn't do. But you can have it in a drink form or in a shot form.
Which is how I have to do it?
Well, Evan doesn't like the taste of the super orange, but I like it. I think it just tastes like a screwdriver.
It's so bad. And actually, the COVID Crusher, it was formed because I said the only way that I would take the emergency is if there's alcohol in it.
Yep.
And it does make it more bearable. So I guess with that.
Cheers. I don't really know how you're going to do that. I put it in kind of a weird cup.
Yeah, here we go.
You're going to have to like...
I don't... All right, here we go.
Oh, yeah. Oh!
Oh, and like fizzes. Oh, it's so fizzy.
How was it?
Delicious. Really good.
Yep.
Definitely try it, you guys.
Yep. Good for COVID and a hangover, which we're definitely not nursing today. Nope. All right. So we'll get into the topics unless you have anything else.
Yeah, let's get this started.
All right.
Topic 1, we're going to look at the gas shortage. Which actually is affecting us.
Yep.
Here in Virginia.
Yep.
So that's super fun. What was it, last week?
Yeah,
Why don't you go into the background?
Yeah.
How this all came to be?
Yeah, so the Colonial Pipeline is a Texas company, and they suffered a cyber attack that impacted the computerized system equipment managing the pipeline. So as a result, they shut down the operations to contain the attack, all their operations. Colonial paid the responsible group, which we think is DarkSide.
DarkSide, yeah.
The FBI said 75 Bitcoin, which is about $5 million, ransom to obtain software to restore their network, which they do now have the software and their network is back up and running. But as a result of this shutdown, about 45% of all the fuel on the East Coast arrives from this pipeline. So Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina all reported shortages in fuel. And Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Virginia all declared a state of emergency as a result.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild. So now we're looking at here in Virginia, we're reading that about 50% of the gas stations are completely out of gas. And in other places like North Carolina, it's worse. 3/4 are completely out.
Yeah.
And hopefully this situation will resolve itself. But
yeah,
wild. Luckily, I sat in line for 45 minutes
Yeah.
to get gas.
It's caused a complete panic. People are absolutely losing their minds over this. People were lined up at gas stations, not only filling up their own cars, but gas tanks and pretty much whatever container they could find in order to hoard gas, because we weren't sure how long this was going to last. So I actually found a photo on the internet of a woman trying to fill up a laundry basket with gas.
Yeah, well, the memes will be funny with that.
Yeah, so I think part of the problem was that no new fuel was being delivered to much of the East Coast, obviously. But the other half is like people
It's full-scale
out.
panic.
Yeah.
The day that it was announced, pretty much, I was driving home from work, and the lines out of the gas station went into the road and like half-mile down.
Yeah.
And I just looking at it, hadn't heard about it yet. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And next day, lunchtime, I decided maybe this might turn into something like legitimate. So I waited in line my entire lunch break and got gas.
Yeah. That's crazy and honestly kind of ridiculous. And I liken it to the toilet paper panic.
Yes.
Where everyone just decided at the exact same time to stock up on toilet paper for whatever reason. So that's pretty much what happened. So
and a lot of what similar to that. So that a lot of what I was hearing is that due to the incident with the it being hacked, like we would have had enough reserves to go for like a couple of weeks and not even notice, but because they announced it and there was wide scale panic. Basically just everyone filled up and got more than they need, filling up their laundry baskets. And that's why we're already experiencing it. So it's going to make it harder for us to rebound. I know in Florida they're being hit pretty hard. Like gas prices were pretty much at an all-time low. Well, not an all-time low, but at a low.
Yeah.
And they're up like 21 cents from last month.
Wow.
Which is
it's a lot in a short amount of time.
It's a lot in a short amount of time, and they're trying to abide with price gouging laws and everything. Gas in Virginia, they're not allowed to increase it, even with the increase in demand because of a regulation that was put in by the governor.
Right, which means that we all just immediately ran out of gas and people were filling up buckets. Because if they had raised the price...
You got to think about it, say like, oh, do I really want to do this for $5 a gallon?
Yes, if they had raised the price, people wouldn't have panic bought excess. They would have bought what they needed and then stopped. But no, think of the people, Evan. I'm pro.
I still filled up my tank.
I'm pro.
I would have needed to fill my tank up. I'm glad it wasn't any more than it would have been. But I predict there will be long-term effects on the supply chain of gas and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to see a price hike.
So I wanted to bring up two things to ask you your opinion on.
Okay, let's hear it.
What do you think this says about the Biden administration, if anything?
The Biden administration.
Do you think the cyber attack was a failure of the Biden administration? Do you think they could have handled the cyber attack better? Or do you think that this just doesn't really have anything to do with the admin?
Yeah, it's hard to put blame on the Biden administration for it actually happening. But I'm not sure how I feel about how it's being handled. Because from what I read, it sounded like that dark side group, whatever, they're trying to figure out and like who's to blame and everything.
Yeah.
And the Biden administration was pretty quiet about it for a long time. And they've actually, I mean, it's a like national emergency.
Yeah.
So I think it was something like they're taking a week to look over the evidence. And the criticism of that is that it's giving the group time to reorganize and figure out what their next step is. And is it too much to call that terrorism or affecting directly the energy supply for Americans? That's pretty big, right?
It is huge. And I think it begs the question of, how did we not see this coming? How did we let this happen? As with most terrorist attack things. Maybe that's being harsh on the Biden administration.
Well, to go out again with the Biden administration, it's ironic, their stance on pipelines and wiping out the one up in Wisconsin area, Minnesota, Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah, Keystone. That's more on the west, but yeah. And that goes to my second question. So I said, this is really demonstrative of the fact that we are so dependent on these pipelines. So what would the Democratic anti-pipeline agenda do to us in the long run? And I feel like we've kind of seen some of this already. Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan has talked about shutting down one of their pipelines. And I think really what we're seeing is travel is restricted and therefore commerce is restricted. We don't have an efficient, clean way yet to travel without fossil fuels. So as much as you want to have a green agenda, we need solutions before we can get rid of the problem, right? We can't just switch to nothing. Evan and I actually are big proponents of nuclear energy. We think that there's something there that could be really powerful in terms of energy. But as of right now, I feel like this just demonstrates why this type of policy decision making, and this pipeline, it wasn't a policy decision, it was a cyber attack, but why anti-pipeline policies are a bad idea right now.
Yeah. One, I think the alternative that I was seeing a lot of weird stuff around is Warren Buffett, I think, owns a lot of stock or something in railway as an alternative means to transport gas. And so apparently that's going to be better than a pipeline underneath the ground.
Okay. How many train accidents happen a year?
Well, I mean, it's more about the aquifers, I think.
Okay, but a train crashing, exploding, and spilling oil would be just as destructive.
And just trigger me every day getting stopped by a train. It's already too much.
How many train accidents happen per year? 5,800. Let's see how many pipeline accidents happen a year.
Well, I feel like a pipeline would be more fuel efficient. There'd be less loss in the transfer of the actual gasoline.
300 per year.
But that's interesting. That is
300 pipeline accidents per year, as opposed to 5,800 train accidents. Just saying.
interesting. Something to think about. Yeah, that seems, to the best of my knowledge, to be the alternative to a pipeline. That and busing it all around in trucks. Are you not even plugged in?
I am, but it was hanging. This other cord was randomly hanging from my head. I did not even notice.
I'm sorry, I probably did that.
No, it's okay.
All right,
Yeah.
What else do we have to talk about with the gas shortage?
I mean, it's a bummer city. It affected us personally. I work in a courthouse, and we were all saying at the courthouse that no one's going to show up this coming week, and everyone's going to cite the gas shortage as not being able to get there. So that's frustrating. But
Well, I don't know if that can be said yet, because it sounds like we're not out of gasoline. There's still 50% of gas stations where you can go fill up. It's every other. And it doesn't sound like we're close to being completely out.
Right.
For a while, people were coming from different states and getting real wild with it.
Well, North Carolina especially, people were driving up to Virginia, and I think that perpetuated part of the problem.
Probably the COVID freaks easily panicked.
Well, and that's just it too. Like, this is so... It just indicates how much we as Americans freak out when shit happens.
Yeah.
I
don't want to say we. A certain subgroup of Americans has really shown their weaknesses in the past year.
And we call them snowflakes.
Snowflakes?
For that reason. But anyway, that's really all I have on the gas shortage. We're hoping it's over soon. I think that there might be some tightening up in terms of cyber security in the United States as a result.
That's what the Biden administration is waiting to. To figure out, because I think the dark side, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a Russian-owned company, and they made some stuff out. I don't think that their point is to completely just cause mayhem. and the organization made some amendments to like their laws and stuff where you're not allowed to use whatever the software is to set ransoms on stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely illegal. We're being tracked down. FBI is way involved, and
Yeah.
it's kind of scary how something like that can affect some people.
For sure. Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of scary and affecting a lot of people,
That's true.
topic number 2, we have the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that's going on right now. And obviously the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been going on for decades, but we're really talking about the events stemming from May 10th forward.
Can I start off saying something?
Yeah.
This is gonna really make me look stupid, but that's the point of this podcast. Is we're not here trying to like act like we know everything. But the Israel Palestine conflict, I don't really know much about. I've looked into it at different points, and I've tried to like figure out what my opinion on it should be. And I know vaguely like what they're fighting over and why it's a big deal. But it feels to me like that's a very important issue right now. Something that could get really bad, and it's not talked about nearly enough. We talk about stupid stuff all the time in the media and fighting over garbage that doesn't really matter or affect anyone, and this is a huge thing. So yeah, that's just, I'm trying to learn a lot more about it because it's wild. And
yeah. And in order to talk about this, obviously Evan and I did like really preliminary research into what happened, just so that we're all on the same page when we give our opinion on it. But that being said, as a typical American, I'm sure people who have very close ties to certain religious groups maybe are more involved than we are, but as a typical average American that just does not pay attention all that much to international politics, I really did not know much detail about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, like Evan said. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, and this especially because the United States has taken a stance on it, as well as other countries. I was reading earlier to Evan what states are kind of allied with Palestine versus Israel, and it's a split between some pretty powerful countries. It's a big deal. It's not like everybody agrees on one side, and if these two groups actually go into serious war... Seriously. Well, and with that being said, I'm going to go back a little bit to the beginning of the conflict, just really, really quick, like so brief. But in 1947, the United Nations voted in a General Assembly for the establishment of 2 states in the Palestine land, one Jewish and one Arab. After that was done, the Jewish side, kind of, they're not really sides anymore, but the Jewish section declared a sovereign state of Israel. And that's the Israel we all know and love today. Okay.
Not all of us love it.
So, since then, the Palestine area that was left, hasn't been recognized by all of the UN countries as a sovereign state, the United States included. And these 2 sections in the original Palestine area, the Jewish and the Arab, the borders have been being fought over for decades now, since 1947 and onward. So, that being said, that kind of lays the groundwork for how the Palestine-Israeli conflict that we're talking about today, the airstrikes and stuff on May 10th, happened. Like, everything precipitates from that event, okay? So, that being said, over the past week, we've seen a lot of these rockets and airstrikes happening between a place called Gaza and Israel. Gaza they call it the Gaza Strip, a Palestinian area on the eastern side of Israel, while the West Bank of the Palestinian area is also Palestine. So it's like, I have to do this backwards, right? So it's the Gaza Strip, Israel, and the West Bank. And the West Bank and the Gaza Strip are Palestine, and Israel's in the middle.
You call yourself an average American doing that backwards?
Yeah. Because to me, it's the other way around. That was hard. Anyway. So, that being said, Palestine has its conflicts of its own, and there's been struggle for political power. And the Hamas is an Islamic political group that has political control at least over the Gaza Strip. I'm not sure about the West Bank. I'm not sure if it's united politically.
Because there's different Arab groups.
Yes, and that makes it very confusing because
different Jewish groups.
Yes. So it's
like a lot going on.
It's
That's
chaotic.
Why most Americans are just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Literally, this could be the end of the world. It's fine. So last week was the end of Ramadan, which is an Islamic holiday. So there's this mosque in Jerusalem which rides the two borders of Israel and the West Bank. Jerusalem's like right in the middle of the two. There's this really famous mosque. I don't know a whole lot about the Islamic religion, if I'm being honest, but I do know it's a very important site for them for some reason. And all of
homeland.
Well, yeah, but this church mosque it's not a church, it's a mosque in particular is like
right.
So a whole bunch of Islamic people, Palestinians, went to worship at this mosque. But like I said before, Jerusalem, where the mosque is, rides the border between Israel and the West Bank. So Israel sent a ton of a ton of police officers into the streets around the mosque, blocking off any movement in and out of the area because of this demonstration. Did I talk about the demonstration yet? All of these people went to go pray at the mosque. There's other stuff happening.
Police officers were sent to break up the demonstration, were they?
Yeah. I just can't remember if I said. So
there's a demonstration at the mosque.
Yes.
Protest outside the mosque.
Yes.
And then mosque, and then the officers were sent to break it up.
Yes.
Which got violent.
Yes. On both ends, the police officers.
They go like,
No. Yep. The police officers were sent in order to break up the demonstration, protest, riot, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Worshippers.
No. I was just saying to Evan while I was reading about this that if you're reading pro-Palestine articles, they say that all these people were just there to worship, but there was a huge political demonstration outside the mosque, which is what prompted the police to be called. It was not the worship, to be clear. So these officers went in, tried to break up the demonstration. They used tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the protesters. And the Israeli police continued to occupy that space for at least a day. So Gaza, the Hamas in Gaza, this political group, told Israel they had until 6 p.m. on May 10th to remove its forces, the police officers, from this mosque by, and if they didn't, Israel didn't. They were given a deadline. They didn't remove the police officers.
In Israel, right?
The mosque is in Jerusalem, and I am a little confused. My ignorance is showing.
It's changing, but
it rides the border, so I'm not sure of this specific area. I don't know if Jerusalem's split, if it's shared. I'm not 100% sure how that works.
We'll just look that up. We'll keep going.
Okay. So when Israel did not remove the police officers from this mosque by the assigned deadline, the Hamas fired more than 150 rockets into Israel. So there are all these cool pictures on the internet of the protective dome around Israel deflecting the rockets. It's really cool. We'll put a picture in so y'all can see it. But in response to those rockets being launched, Israel launched airstrikes into the Gaza Strip. So that's what we're hearing about now in the media, because poor Palestine. I think my opinion's showing a little bit. A representative for the United States government reaffirmed since this airstrike the position that Israel has a right to self-defense. So we've already sided with Israel again. We've sided with Israel for many, many, many years.
So NBC News says that Israel sees Jerusalem as its eternal and indivisible capital, while the Palestinians want the eastern section to be their future capital, the capital of a future state.
So it's currently Israeli?
Currently, Israel recognizes it as theirs, and so I would say that the U.S. recognizes it as part of
Israel, right?
Yeah.
Well, and that would make sense. We were saying before, why, if it wasn't in Israel, was Israel sending police officers there, especially to a mosque? Because that's just not... Israel, while it does have a Muslim population, is by far Jewish.
Yeah, Israel is the only country with a Jewish majority, which is interesting. So you were just talking about the U.S.'s position on everything.
Yes. So I was going to say, that's all of the background. I'm sorry, we probably could have done a better job, but Evan and I are not experts on this by any means, and we're going off of knowledge that we've had to dig for.
Yeah.
It was not readily available.
Talk to people who have been following the thing for longer.
Yeah.
It has been going on a long time.
Oh my gosh, so long. And it makes...
If you're closer, like more involved in it, you'd have some more insight. But I'll just briefly go over if that's okay. Yeah. The position that the U.S. has had. So with the Obama administration, they seemed to...
Did you say it like that?
That's how I say it. Barack Hussein Obama. His administration, they were supportive. I believe it's true. They were supportive of a, what is that called? Two-state nation?
Yeah.
Whatever, right?
The end goal for the United States...
Two-state solution.
Yes. Is to recognize both Palestine and Israel.
Right, so that was...
But they don't right now, just to be clear.
That was Obama's administration.
Yeah.
And then when Trump came in, he was very pro-Israel. And he made a lot of changes to pretty much fully side. The American stance was we're fully on board with Israel and we're backing what Israel is doing. And then Biden came in and he is trying to undo a lot of what Trump said with that. And he's very clear that he supports a two-state solution. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and that'll make a lot of changes with the UN and
Oh yeah, for sure. Now the UN has slowly allowed Palestine to become more involved, but they are not recognized as an official member as of now. But they're allowed to like sit in on meetings and stuff like that. But that being said, just knowing what we know about the bare minimum of this conflict, what do you think?
What do I think? I don't want to give my opinion on this, honestly. I feel like I'm too naive to really like pin it. But from what I've read, it seems like there's a growing support for the Palestinians among left-leaning Americans, and residual Trump supporters seem to be very like supportive of the Israelis.
Yeah. I think we almost, in this circumstance, fall into, and maybe I'm overgeneralizing here, but like, we're kind of going back to old divisions of religion as well, a little bit, because, and I was saying this earlier, Jerusalem is a very important place for not just Jews and not just Muslims, but Christians. And strong American Christians, we look at evangelical groups, that kind of stuff, are very pro-Israel as well, because I think that their control of those areas is a safer option for Christians.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
And maybe that's an overgeneralization. I'm not trying to insinuate that Muslim people are unsafe, so please don't take it that way, but just traditionally, Jewish people and Christians have very similar ideology. So
I think when a lot of people think of situations like this, you have to understand human nature. There's not really an outcome where all people who are religious and view this land as like sacred holy land can all go intermingle and worship together. There's going to be conflict in this area because that's just how people are. They want control of it. They see it. So it's a hard conflict to resolve, honestly. And yeah.
I think Evan's spot on. There is an odd, and maybe odd isn't the right word. There is a sudden Palestinian push. Like all of a sudden, I feel like I've heard a lot more people are pro-Palestine. And maybe I've just opened my ears a little bit more. That could be, but
Off of the recent current events, I think the U.S.'s position was that Israel had the right to defend themselves in that situation.
Yes. Well, we still side with Israel, but I mean in general with like who has control of the land and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to read what nations do not recognize.
All the scary ones, or all that don't recognize Palestine.
Palestine.
Oh.
So, because this is where the camp the U.S. falls into.
This is the World War III teams.
Yes.
So nonchalant about it.
Me?
No, me.
Oh. Hold on. What was the keywords that I got this to come up?
I did not know. I can't tell you. But I know the side that does recognize Palestine, they just recognize it as a state, as a sovereign nation.
Right.
That included Russia, China, much of the Middle East, India.
Yep. And then people who are like
Countries.
governments that are pro-Israel, Canada, Australia, the UK, the United States,
The good guys.
Mexico. So it's just kind of interesting to see the split too. I wonder if it has it just goes back for me to like Cold War era where it's all about ideology. Like, is there an ideological split as well? So
Right.
We'll be keeping our eyes on this one.
Definitely excited to learn more about it. If anyone has a different perspective, please share it in the comments. We want to talk with real people. We don't want to read these stupid articles. It's just propagandists trying to sway us one way or the other.
Yeah.
We want to know what real human thoughts are. If this affects you personally, hit us up.
Seriously, yep. So, moving on to a completely different topic, coming back to the United States and Daddy Fauci, the CDC relaxes the mask restrictions.
Mm-hmm. Relaxed. It's gone. We beat COVID.
Don't say relax.
So let us read the CDC guidance from the CDC website about it.
Read all of it?
No. It's 2 sentences.
All right, let's see it.
If you are fully vaccinated, you can resume activities that you did prior to the pandemic.
We bless you with the ability.
Fully vaccinated people can resume activities without wearing a mask or physically distancing, except where required by law. Thank you.
Little weird.
Thank you, Daddy Fauci.
Mm-hmm. And what about unvaccinated people?
They have to keep wearing a mask,
No,
but
I won't.
Biden's has a message for all us unvaccinated people. I'll read it, but we'll play it as well because I don't want anybody to think I'm making this up.
Yeah, roll clip.
Roll clip.
For now, after a year of hard work and so much sacrifice, the rule is very simple. Get vaccinated or wear a mask until you do.
The rule is very simple. Get vaccinated or wear a mask until you do.
That's exactly what I remember the whole plan being back in like
Right.
last July,
Yeah.
right?
That we're actually, until every single person is vaccinated, we're actually supposed to be wearing
It's
masks.
like 2 weeks to slow the curve,
Yeah.
and then like the next 9 months to completely brainwash everyone to
Yep.
think that this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And then like inject them with a non-FDA approved vaccine.
Yep, an
That was the whole
experimental
plan,
vaccine.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that makes sense to me. I think Joe Biden's a great guy.
Well, a couple things. First of all, that was sarcasm. I feel like I don't need to say that, but just in case. The point Evan and I are trying to make is, since when are our two options to wear a mask or get vaccinated? I thought we were wearing a mask to protect people while we got to herd immunity. I was unaware that I, as an individual person, will never have the option to be unvaccinated or not wear a mask.
Yeah, so this is something interesting to talk about because I've seen a lot of people and a lot of people's points of view, to me being like, I won't do that, like just get out of my business. It seems obvious to me that like, no, I haven't gone and gotten a vaccine since I was like a kid. Why would I go do this when I'm not really scared of getting it? So my mindset is protect myself, do what I feel comfortable with. And it seems that the herd mentality now has become, you got to look out for everyone. It's like you guys got to.
You're responsible for every single person's health.
I'm not responsible for anyone's health but myself.
Right.
And call me selfish. Maybe that's incredibly selfish, but I just don't agree with some of the health decisions they're making. If you think that you can be completely live a sedentary lifestyle, not take care of your health, eat crappy food, and then stab yourself with a vaccine, like maybe your chances of getting it are a little less. But I think eating healthy and taking care of yourself, you're going to also do better.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm protecting myself against the vaccine in a different way. Or not against the vaccine. I should
Freudian slip.
I'm protecting myself against COVID in a different way. So far, I'm alive. So that's good.
Yeah. Well, and when we see videos of people being really mad about mask stuff, they're never the people who are like taking care of themselves.
Yeah, it's a very easy thing to do. I'll give you that. If you think that it's going to, like, if you are very unhealthy and you listen to the CDC say that you can just wear a mask and then you're like, oh wow, I'm great now, I'm healthy. Like, you guys are naive.
Well, they're already saying that, immune systems will be really affected by this. We haven't talked much about that.
Yeah, but not ours because we don't wear masks.
No. Well, and also, I think it's interesting. You can resume all activities that you did prior to the pandemic. A couple things. One, Evan and I worked the whole pandemic.
What will we be able to do that we
haven't been doing? That's what I'm saying. We've flown on airplanes. We moved. I was in-person classes for school. Evan was in-person for his job. Seriously, we continue to live our lives.
Okay, so maybe this doesn't affect us as it does the sheeple. So what can the sheeple do now?
Travel.
You guys can travel, get out of your house,
Yep.
go enjoy the world.
You can
stimulate the economy.
Yep, you can shop at a store for items other than necessities.
Oh, that's good. You guys have been dying to go out and get some new stuff, right?
Yep.
Go have fun with that.
Yep, you
Spend
can
those stimmy checks.
have parties in person.
Ooh, that's what we need. That mental health game is out of check.
Yep.
Gotta go get back there if you guys haven't been doing that for the past year.
Yep. I've actually been seeing a lot of people too.
You can also have sex without a mask on.
No, they said that masks don't help.
Okay, but if you have the vaccine, you can get back to the sex game. That's probably affecting some people's mental health. And if they're that disciplined on this, I get why they're mad though.
There was a university that was like, if you hit it doggy, it's okay. Because your faces aren't together.
so respectable.
Well, no, and what I was going to say is a lot of people, too, are going back to work, if they haven't already, for office jobs. My dad is one of those people. He didn't have a choice. His office closed.
In-person working.
Yes, in-person working. But, that being said, I've seen a lot of videos where HR teams are having trouble getting people going back to work.
Oh, yeah, this long-term consequences from this whole...
But, other than that, moving back to the mask mandate specifically, since the CDC... Did you hear my... Since the CDC has released this update, Virginia, Maryland, Minnesota, Kentucky, Nevada, Oregon, and Pennsylvania, and Washington, and Connecticut have all announced that they are lifting their statewide mask mandates. This does not mean that businesses can't choose to require masks in those states.
Right.
But
shouldn't if they want customers.
That is a separate issue, but the government is no longer requiring it.
Okay.
Again,
And
praise the government.
Yeah, praise the government.
No.
Is that all May 31st? I believe in Virginia it's May 31st.
I think some were immediate, but some have, like, a slow release or whatever.
Okay.
Why that would matter, I don't really understand, but whatever.
Well,
And
it's
then...
the middle of flu season, so...
Is it? It's May 5th. What is the date today? May 16th.
I'm feeling sarcastic today.
Oh. But what I was going to say is this obviously is in addition to states who've already lifted their mask mandates like Alabama and Texas and Florida. Like, this is not an exhaustive list of everyone who's lifted their mask mandates. These are just the ones who've done it since the CDC updated their guidelines. But get this. Despite the fact that we should trust the science and take what the CDC says at face value and use it in our states, New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, North Carolina, and California all said that they're keeping their mask mandates in place while they review the evidence.
Wow. New York doesn't have a great track record.
Okay, a couple things about Cuomo. We can roll a clip from 2 weeks ago where he stated when the CDC updated their guidelines that day that New York is going with the CDC guidance, that we should trust science, la la la.
He announced today new guidance saying for New Yorkers, Americans who are fully vaccinated, when you are outside, biking, hiking, running, or in small gatherings, you don't need to wear a mask. If you are fully vaccinated. Fully vaccinating means 1 shot of the Johnson & Johnson, 2 shots of Pfizer Moderna. But they are saying you don't need to wear a mask. So that is liberating, especially now that the weather is getting warmer. New York has adopted that guidance, so that's going to go into effect in New York State also, and we want to thank CDC.
And here we are 2 weeks later, it doesn't fit the political agenda. God forbid we all get back to our lives. And now Cuomo is examining the evidence? How about we examine the damn evidence of his rape allegations or his huge scandal with killing all of these, like, elderly people in the nursing home?
I think the nursing home thing was a pretty big deal.
Huge deal! Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's definitely not my king, and I'm glad about that.
Who is your king?
Who's my king?
Jesus Christ. That was the first thing that popped into my head. Now you're uncomfy. I like it,
Yeah,
blushing a little. You're like, I can't say no, but I can't say yes either.
I can say no. No, I'm my own king.
All right.
Common sense. Common sense is king.
Okay. So this is the other interesting thing is all of this is based on whether or not you have a vaccine. But 18 states have already taken a stance on vaccine passports, saying that they will not allow it.
Good.
So this is guidance that basically the CDC is saying we are no longer requiring masks. They're saying for vaccinated, but there's no way to prove that, so masks off for everyone at this point.
I'm going to go deep into it.
Okay.
So the
I'm gonna eat a cookie
ooh,
while we're talking about being healthy and.
tasty. Yeah. Those are protein cookies.
Are they? You put protein in them?
No.
Oh.
But we've done that in the past.
So we'll pretend for right now.
So the anti-mask community got a lot of bad rep leading up before this because it sounds kind of crazy. I have always said that I am anti-mask, and to me that doesn't mean like what a lot of people think about it. I'm literally just a libertarian in the sense that I don't think the government should have the right to force you to do anything. Whether or not it's helping other people, like you need to have a certain number of people get the vaccine, that's just not the government's prerogative to even know, in my opinion. So it's not. I'm not here sitting and saying that vaccines are causing diseases and that they're bad and like you should be scared to take them. If you want to get a vaccine, great.
Happy
There's a
for
lot
you.
of science
Yep.
that proves that it's beneficial to your health.
Yep.
That being said, COVID-19 is not a disease that concerns me because statistically, it does not affect my age group at all.
Yeah.
So,
Or most age groups.
yeah. Oh, well, I was going to say is it's wild that the anti-mask community, if you had been following it before COVID, had always said that it's going to become a thing that the government is going to force us to have these COVID vaccine passports or these vaccine passports. And it's just another means of control. It's another 9/11 like thing with extra regulations to be able to watch and govern over us.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be excited about giving more control to a government that whether you're left or right, you don't like right now or you didn't like 6 months ago.
Right.
It's like it's not everything's in your control. All you can do is say, I want less power.
Right.
Those people.
Right. And back a little bit to what you said earlier, I think that is such a scary component of this whole thing. And by that, I mean that at the beginning of the pandemic, so over a year ago, there were people saying this was going to happen, and everyone was like, oh, put your tinfoil hats on.
It was the first thing everyone said. Yeah, the tinfoil hat people.
Seriously? And if this doesn't validate some of those, like, QAnon people...
I wouldn't put that. Those are two different groups.
Are they?
I don't want to pretend like we're part of the Q people.
Oh, we're not, just to be clear. No, but I'm saying, like, when I think of right-wing conspiracy theorists, that's immediately where my head goes, you know?
Yeah, because it's a serious problem.
So, I don't know how else to address, like, right-wing conspiracy theorists, but...
I don't think oh man, the speaking's not working out today. I don't think anti-vax people are completely right-wing.
I don't think so either.
It's a pretty universal.
It's a mix.
Left-leaning libertarians and right-leaning libertarians.
Yeah. Well, Evan has an aunt that I didn't think I would agree with on a lot, but she is very anti-vax. Donnie? I guess she's not technically your aunt. Evan's family, kind of.
Cousins.
Evan's uncle's baby mama. But anyway.
Yeah, and my uncle, I'm pretty sure he's pretty on board with that stuff. Because out in California, it's a different game out there. He's never been to a public school because he's not allowed to.
They're kids. Evan means his cousins are not allowed to public schools, and this was long before COVID because they will not get their vaccine.
Some people are super supportive of that decision by the government to not let unvaccinated children into public schools. I just happen to think that that's dumb.
Honestly, I was very kind of pro that for a very long time until kind of recently.
Well, I think the COVID pandemic has really shed light on how serious like things that you're not even thinking about. Like there's consequences of everything.
Right.
And I don't usually think extra regulation
is a good
is a
thing.
good thing.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine. I feel like Democrats are advocating for very invasive policies when it comes to COVID. And again, like you mentioned earlier, why are we advocating for more government if we hate the government half the time?
Right. And if we're so against institutions, like big institutions and corporations, but everything that they're supporting is directly benefiting these big institutions and corporations.
Yeah.
It's kind of being blinded by the media in my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being advertised this stuff, and then I don't even think if you really thought about it, you'd support it.
Right. Yeah, I guess I just hadn't thought about it up until this point. But speaking of large corporations, Walmart and Costco are two of those big corps that have already announced that they will not be requiring masks in their stores anymore for fully vaccinated people, but again, will not be requiring proof of vaccination. There are some really, really mad left-wing people out there about the no proof of vaccine. And the CDC...
About the no proof of vaccine.
Yes. That,
Well, that was a problem. I mean, I don't know if that's entirely a left-right issue.
No. Like, people, since the CDC guidance has come out, have come on, like, MSNBC and CNN and said, like, I cannot believe the CDC is doing this without a vaccine passport in place.
Yeah.
Which is not so crazy.
In our opinions. If you have a different opinion, we'd love to hear it and debate on it because we're pretty firm in our opinion.
Well, and honestly, sometimes it's hard, I think, for us to even consider some of the other perspective because it's illogical to us. But if somebody wanted to talk to us about it, we'd be more than happy to hear about it.
Well, that's the mindset you have to have because while we do hold our opinions pretty firmly, it's never out of a place of hate or animosity, anything like that. This is just the way that we think. And I think that's part of why this podcast is important to us is it's sharing our opinions and letting you understand like our reasoning and logic for it.
Right.
Because nobody pulls stuff out of their ass. They've all got reasons for what they think. And if you talk to someone and learn from them, like it's easy to see both sides.
Yeah. And while we're giving like base information on all of these topics, again, it's not really to inform you of what you should think, but rather to give you a basis of why we think what we're thinking, you know? Like sometimes I feel like I can get, and I know this is only episode 3, but like get a little bit ranty on the details, but for me they're important in my decision-making process. So yeah. But with that being said, that's all I have on the CDC. It'll be interesting to see what New York does coming up here, as well as those other states, but I think there are more eyes on New York than, like, Massachusetts.
It'll be fun to see as COVID slowly is less in the limelight.
Yeah, it's wild.
We beat it.
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, my mom adamantly thinks that this is a win. They're trying to create a win for the Biden administration in light of all the bullshit that is going on right now. They're like, we just got to do something that feels good, that'll make people happy, because
well, no, the COVID cases are significantly down.
There's a fuel shortage, there's civil unrest, there's problems at the border, there's super high unemployment. Nobody wants to go back to work because they're getting paid to be unemployed at this point more than they would make at work. All this shit going on, and then the CDC comes out and says...
It is funny, but it is about time.
It is about time, yeah.
Numbers have been trending down for months now.
Yeah.
And they're now at a point where it's very low. And yeah, the COVID vaccines are continuing to come out. The Pfizer vaccine, actually, the one study showed 97% effective against preventing against symptomatic infection and 86% effective against protecting against asymptomatic protection. So while we just spewed a lot of crap about being anti-vaxxers, if you want to get the vaccine, it sounds like if everything goes well, which it very well may, then you got some pretty good odds. Like, shouldn't be worried about somebody who's unvaccinated because you've got a pretty good chance at fighting it off.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. If people who are really worried get the vaccine. Could solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, definitely. Trust that vaccine. If you're willing to get it, trust it.
Yeah.
Because the numbers look good.
Yeah.
Just we trying to have a kid someday, so we're gonna pass.
Yeah. Well, they just don't know yet enough about how it affects childbirth. There's actually some pretty spooky studies right now out there that talk about miscarriage and birth deformities and that kind of stuff. I don't want to spread misinformation. I'm not saying this definitive.
We'll probably talk about that next week.
Okay.
Let's make that
Okay. That being said, I will be happy to give sources and all that if we do actually talk about that next week. That's evident in my main concern. We're looking at having kids at least in the next 8 years.
We should do a conspiracy segment. One conspiracy theory every week.
Okay, but we're going to run out of political ones, and I'm going to be like, the moon landing wasn't real. I keep seeing stuff about that. I know.
Was it, though?
I don't know.
Why haven't we been back?
Do you know that? You know that trend that's like, I started liking this as a joke, but bro, I don't think it's a joke anymore. That's how I feel about the moon landing. Like, I was looking into the moon landing conspiracy as a joke, but bro, I don't think it's a joke anymore. Anyway, I think, with that being said...
Should we go on to the memes? Oh my gosh. Holy.
We should go on to the moon.
Okay. All right.
All right. So just again in kind of random order, here we go.
All right. Conservatives 2008. Mm-hmm.
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 That's a great photo of Zac Efron. Big fan.
So we should be clear. We got some memes from
both sides.
Both sides.
Yep.
The left-leaning ones are straight from r/political humor top of this week.
That's Reddit.
Yeah, so those are the left-leaning ones because there's quite a bias on that website these days.
Yep. The right-leaning ones are from all over the place. Again, I see...
Instagram meme pages.
Instagram, TikTok.
QAnon. No.
He's DMing us directly.
Yeah, Q's talking to us.
No, that's not... Again, that's a joke. Just to be clear. So this is obviously a liberal meme.
Yeah, I give it a solid... that's a solid 8. And I think it would be... Yes. Well, it's true. It's whoever's in power, the other side complains. That's how it always is.
Okay, but if we're pointing fingers at the crybaby side...
The crybaby side?
Is not the Republicans or conservatives.
I think we're both crybabies. There's a little bit of crybaby in both of us.
I'm angry a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's cry. More like rage.
Yeah.
Less.
Yeah. I don't know.
Put a number on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna, I originally was gonna go pretty low, but I hear ya. I'll go 6 out of 10.
Alright, that's fair.
It made me angry, which means it was about me.
True, that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Alright, here we go. This is
from TikTok.
This is from TikTok. I like this
At
one.
Emmanuel Harando.
That a boy, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
That's very, very true.
Yeah. I mean, this is really the mentality of, like, teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's, do you just let other people do the work for you and try and...
mooch off society?
Mm-hmm. Or do you just figure it out for yourself?
You pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
I like that saying. I know that they've, like, debunked it. Like, people will get on the internet and be like, that doesn't even make sense.
The saying itself?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I still stand by the sentiment.
Yeah.
Come on, we got the internet now. It's easier than ever.
Yeah. I'm actually starting to sell knives in my free time because I'm a hustler.
Right? Yeah, guys, start a podcast. Get 39 views. Come
Get
on.
39 views. Week 2. All right. Oh, this one?
Oh, this is triggering.
Yeah, and
So
we're
it's
gonna have to get the
Yeah. I just
full-
wanted to show. Actually, I took a second screenshot because I wanted to
Okay.
show that had 38,000 upvotes on Reddit.
Did
That's-
you send the next one? Oh no, you just sent
No.
that one.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so this meme is comparing Nazi women to conservative women.
I give that a fat 0. That's dangerous thinking, kids.
I don't think people who like Trump should be compared with people who believed in mass genocide of Jewish people. And that's really all I have to say about it.
Yeah.
I asked Evan to include this one because it was, again, on our political humor.
Well, it was one of the
with
top posts this week.
38,000 upvotes. That's
Right.
terrifying.
Which is supposed to be a like a neutral source. You can post opinions from both sides, and this type of content gets to the top.
absolutely
Very
terrifying.
freakishly weird. All right.
Yeah, so that
0
upset
out
me.
of 10?
Negative a million.
Negative
out of 10.
a million.
Oh, so this is the Palestinian Israeli one,
Mhm.
and this is a pro-Palestine meme. So you see Palestine having full control of the area in 1946. In 1947, the UN says, nah,
50-50 share in
you
it.
gotta share. Yep. In 1967, I don't know exactly what happened, but apparently Israel got a little more land,
They're nudging them out.
and by 2000, basically Israel has all of the Palestinian area.
Okay. I like the
visual?
depiction,
Yeah.
the visual and stuff. I think that's funny.
It is.
So that some points, I give it a 6 off that. I'm still not gonna take a stance on the whole issue. I don't know enough.
Yeah, I'd say that you could even flip the two and make an argument that it could be the other side as well. So
Maybe. It seems like Israel has more land. Do they have more than they did in 1947?
yeah, but it's the middle, and the water's on either side. Like, when you think about what is the good land to have, I don't know. Again, we're kind of getting into, I don't know in terms of the Jewish faith and the Muslim faith, what parts of that area are better than others. I know Jerusalem is a hot spot.
I'll say a funny meme, and again, interesting top this week of r/political humor. Obviously, this is what the left thinks. They're siding with the Palestine.
Yep.
I won't say obviously. From what I'm seeing on this pretty mainstream, there's like millions of people in this subreddit.
Yeah. I have to say that I think if Israel asked for help, I don't know if the Biden administration would help them.
I think he would. We'll
I'm
see.
skeptical.
We'll see.
Okay, so then we have like two more memes and then a picture that we said we'd mention from earlier.
Okay.
This one is not, I mean, I don't know if we can even classify it as a meme.
That's so true.
I sure could go for a mean tweet and $1.79 gas right now.
That's facts.
Straight facts. And I think this gets to the heart of, do you want a politically correct president or do you want a president that has better policy?
Absolutely.
Rips my heart out. I was like doing a knife, but it anyway. Looked like I was like jerking my titty. Okay. So,
Next
then this
up.
one.
Oh, what were we rating that?
Oh.
Is that even a meme? 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Facts. Trump 2024.
Straight facts. I don't know. We can talk about this later.
DeSantis 2024.
DeSantis needs to run. Anyway. And just like that, Democrats figured out how important pipelines are.
Sheesh. Yep.
I saw a picture and I tried desperately to find it so we could include it, but I have no idea where I saw it, and it's gone. I don't know what page I saw it on.
Wait, which one?
It was a woman filling up her car, panic filling up her car,
Yeah.
and on her bumper,
Yep.
she had a no pipelines bumper sticker.
Hilarious. Irony, man.
Irony. Yeah, I give this one an 8 out of 10, not a 10 because it's kind of boring. But I think it
It's kinda
gets to the
boring.
heart of an issue.
I give it a 6 out of 10 because...
Also, I hate that guy. He's
No, I like
so
it.
annoying.
I give it an 8 out of 10. It looks like Peyton Manning. What are you talking about?
No, what is that actor's name? He's such a nutcase.
I have no idea.
Someone is screaming at their computer screen. It's so-and-so, it's so-and-so. Okay. And then this is the photo of a woman
This is a picture?
trying to fill up any container she could get her hands on. Apparently, it was a laundry basket.
Because that's almost crazier than the double mask.
Oh, at least people who were double masking were like, there was some logic. I just want to know what the plan here was. Like, what,
She's just getting the bottom.
the bottom. She just wants like a quarter inch of
Or
gas at the
she's
bottom.
just going to keep filling it up and letting it pour and just look back and be like, yeah, fuck the rest of you.
I wish it was a video. I'm not gonna lie.
True.
Yeah, this has been floating around the internet too. If that didn't illustrate well enough the panic that's going on out here.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, what are we?
10 out of 10.
I don't know. It's not really a meme.
It's not
but
a meme. It's just a stupid person.
Stupid.
Stupid American.
10 out of 10 stupid.
It's a 10 out of 10 stupid.
All right. Well,
that's all we got for this week, right?
yeah, that concludes another week. And so we hope we've given you some perspective on what the average American voter thinks of American politics this week.
A little bit. We kind of seemed a little alt-right for a little bit there, but
When it comes to CDC, I feel like it's easy to seem alt-right.
We've got some radical opinions and some very neutral opinions, and I think that's how everyone is. So
yeah,
we're just trying to be honest with you guys.
Absolutely. Well, it was nice talking to you, Evan.
It's been a pleasure. See you guys next week.